countdown, please. Like proper 5, 4, 3.
Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us on CV Freaks podcast episode 12. I'm really happy to be with my guests here today, DANNYSOUND and God's Box. Phil from God's Box. Danny from DANNYSOUND and Phil from God's Box. So
Hello.
Hello.
So Danny is in the flannel and Phil from God's Box is in the black t-shirt.
Hey, very Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin is the best city in the world, you know. Mein Lieblingsstadt.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. I absolutely love Berlin. You know, I was there at Superbooth all 4 years, and I went to Berlin other times for CTM and Atonal, and I just loved it. I thought it was the best.
That's great.
Yeah, best city in the world. So,
are you planning to move?
I would love to. If I find my spot there, but you know, as travel is now and things like that.
Yeah.
So when did you guys move there?
Well, I moved here in 2014, and then when did you arrive?
I think 16. Yeah. And when I first came over, I was actually living in the room next to the room that we're in now. So I stayed with Danny for a little while.
Nice.
Whilst I was getting set up, and then
What parts of England are you guys from?
Brighton. So it's like south coast, just below London.
You're both from Brighton?
Well, I was born in London and then moved further south as I got older and ended up on the coast.
Yeah, I heard.
I stayed there for about 10 years and then moved back to London briefly and then came over to Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin is better than London.
Oh, you lived there for a bit, hey?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
It's tough. London is a tough place, you know.
It's really hard, but
yeah,
you just love it. Just, you know. It's
great. Yeah, I mean, it's a great place, but it's difficult to live there.
Yeah. But I heard of you guys through Thonk. Steve from Thonk would bring your stickers to my CV Freaks events.
Oh, we got stickers?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, DANNYSOUND, I don't have one of your stickers. No,
I
have the God's Box ones. No, you should make some. Yeah. Steve made me some stickers, and I have like 2 left. I'm just holding onto them, like the CV.
Oh, that's ones. Great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for using them and appreciating them. That's very nice to know.
I mean, he was so cool for bringing you guys' modules out there. You know, out to my London events.
Yeah.
And I've never seen your modules, either one of yours, in anybody's system. So that's why I just thought I would really, I mean, I don't have any of your modules, but they sound amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone pretty underground with our promotion, I have to say.
Well, I think like we're both starting up really. So,
I
mean, it's like still quite early days for both of us. Like I think you're a bit more ahead of me in terms of actually being more professional with the whole website stuff. I've still yet to do that.
Well, I think so. When we started out doing stuff, we were releasing modules as kits through Thonk, and Steve gave us a lot of help in terms of getting off the ground, and it was a really great arrangement. But also, it meant that we were sort of doing it alongside other things that we had in our life as well. So it got off to a very slow start. I think I did my first kit, which was a filter called the Humpback. And that was, I don't know, it must have been 8 years ago. Maybe it wasn't that long, but it was a long time ago that I did my first kit. And then, now I'm doing it a little bit more seriously, and I'm going to try and release stuff more frequently.
So did you do an electronics program to figure out how to do that, or did you just teach yourself?
We both did degrees in electronic engineering.
Yeah.
So Yeah, University of Sussex. Oh, you got your doctorate as well, didn't you? Forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, we both studied electronics, but I think what you do when you do synthesizers is, I mean, there's electronics involved, definitely, and that's a big stepping stone for people who don't know how to, who are starting from nothing. But really, where it's at in terms of design is more of a kind of product design outlook, I think. Like deciding how you want your modules to function and what you want their sort of identity to be, and how much, like, what controls you're going to offer people.
Yeah, I think
these kind of things.
That's the bit that really appeals to me, is because, yeah, I mean, it's not sort of like, there's not much sort of cutting edge electronics that you could do within synthesizers, but you can really show your personality. I think that's kind of the main thing. So, like, whatever your sound is, if you have a preference for a particular type of sound, and that's your personality comes through, and the way they look and the way that people use them, there's all sorts of things. Is it Seat Lombard and all that sort of stuff, where it's really like, you can tell that's like completely its own personality.
Yeah.
And they're great, and I really like that. I think that's for me, it's almost like an extension of making music, because it's similar sort of process, really. These are the sounds that you like. These are, like the way things perform and the way you interact with them.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really like about the synth scene, is that there seems to be a lot of real creativity in it. There's the different people coming at it from slightly different perspectives.
Yeah.
But everyone's sort of bringing a little piece of themselves, and it's really nice. It's like, this is what making things should be about.
I was quite taken with Soma synths, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With Vlad Krimer, and he gave me a demonstration of the Pulsar 23 when we were at Superbooth in 2019. And that is a perfect example, really, of what I'm talking about. His personality really comes through in that, and the way you interact with it, and his whole sort of romantic engineering philosophy is quite...
Yeah.
That's the big orange one, right?
Yeah, although I ordered one in white, and that was a long time ago, and still haven't got any. I think he's got a huge waiting list of people waiting for them.
Superbooth is the best because it's the place where we can all share the ideas, and
it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a wonderland. I went there not in 2019, but I was like quite sick at the time. I was like, had some weird virus thing that was kind of made me feel really tired. But I got there and I was just like a kid in a sweet shop, like, when you're like overtired and you're just running around and just talking rubbish. There's so much stuff to see there. It's amazing.
It is the best there, and I can't wait to go back, because I don't think anything in the whole world would compare. Just the energy of Berlin, and the people that make the effort to go to Berlin for the event, because it's very international. And, I don't think the ones in US are as good. Just I only went to NAMM, but it was horrible.
Are they a bit more sort of focused on like guitar music and live bands and stuff?
Yeah. They have a whole guitar section, and it's more for the older generation, the older crowd. Real pianos, real instruments, just not. It's not that synthesizers aren't real instruments.
Yeah, is it more big manufacturers?
Yeah. It's
yeah.
The bigger ones have the main floors, or you have to pay a lot for the main floors. I remember I met Rob. I went to find Rob Papin's booth because I really liked his soft synths, and I went to find him, and he had a spot on the first floor. I was like, "Oh my God, you're Rob Papin!" He was like, "Oh yeah, who cares?" But
it's funny. When you meet people like that, there's a few people. I can't remember the name of the guy that we met. And he's got like a website up, and I've been looking at it for years for like different schematics and stuff, and it's just like really handy to have. And Yeah, I was a little bit it's like weirdly sort of starstruck, and he was just kind of like, yeah, loads of people have been saying this to me, and it's really strange because, you know, he just put some stuff up on the internet and forgot about it, and then suddenly he's like, all these people go, oh yes, you.
Yeah.
Well, like some of those guys at the very first Superbooth, you know, the guys from the UK, I think they're like synthesizers.com or something, and they weren't even at their booth. There was no way you could find them. I still don't know who those guys are, you know, but
Yeah,
they had
probably
these
weren't
big
around.
wooden ones, and it just looks super weird. I love the vintage quality. I love how you get that vintage quality, Danny, mainly because
Oh yeah.
Danny's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, so for me, it was like, I worked in we actually both worked in the same repair shop for a bit, but I'd kind of worked there for a few years beforehand. And it was great because we fixed like stuff for stage and studio. So we'd have these bands that like the roadies would use us. So these bands would like tour all over the world, and they buy all this vintage gear, and then they bring it back, and we'd have to fix it. So you get to sort of play around with Moogs and, you know, like all these different kind of synthesizers and chords and like old sort of Roland stuff and bits of gear. And then you get to sort of hear the sound, and, you know, obviously you're fixing it. So you're studying the schematics, and you're like, that's how it gets that sound.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was like a really good experience. And then when it came to designing this stuff, I mean, I'm basically just building myself a synthesizer. It's like stuff that I want to have for myself.
It's really amazing, yeah.
So yeah, I can just, like, you know, take a few of those ideas and develop them maybe a bit more, try and offer something that's might not be available, or personalize it a little bit. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I was coming from with all that.
So you have a whole system now available on Thunk, right?
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, I mean,
Mixer, VCA, oscillator. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's got like oscillators, and then I've got filters are coming out now. They're coming out. So that's like based on the Moog transistor ladder filter. So again, it's the sound of that ladder filter. And then expanded a little bit so you can have like band pass and high pass outputs, which is quite a nice option. So yeah, that's kind of like, it's basically just getting that one voice together. So there's nothing that's really, you know, groundbreaking in terms of design. Like, you know, there are manufacturers out there that do some incredible stuff, but I'm more of a case of like, I just want to get the sound that I want to have. So in terms of like getting the voice, I wasn't really sort of that worried about, you know, coming up with something that's like new and innovative. But now that I've done that, now I can move on to sort of
but you're using
my own designs a bit more.
You're using all analog components, right?
Yeah, for the most part. Some of them are digital actually. So I've got some LFOs that will hopefully be coming out soon. And there's a voltage controlled ADSR, and both of those are digital, and both of those are from a chap called Tom Wiltshire, who runs a website called Electric Druid. And what he does is he programs little microcontrollers. I think it started out that he was programming microcontrollers to kind of make up for chips that were obsolete. But then he's kind of like carried on and just developed a whole range of these little ICs that come with a data sheet. And it's basically, you know, you can use them for whatever purpose you like, but they're great. They work really nicely, especially the LFOs. I'm really taken with them. So you can do quite a lot with that. But in terms of like the actual audio signal path, yeah, it's purely analog for me.
Wow, that's so cool. And what about you, Phil? Your stuff has digital stuff or is mainly analog?
Yeah, it does have digital stuff. At the moment, the stuff that I've got out is all analog signal path, but I have one module called Loose Fruit, which is an analog signal path, but it's controlled digitally. But my sort of philosophy of design, I guess you might say, is different to Danny's, I think, in terms of like, I'm sort of, I like to explore something that I don't understand or that I can't do, and experiment and play and trying to find something out, and then I try and bundle it together and make a module out of it. The like Loose Fruit is the best example of this, because it's a wave shaper, which works in a way which is quite similar to those old DBX subharmonic generators. What they do is they flip the waveform as it crosses 0, if you follow me. So you can, so you've got like a sine wave, and it goes up and it goes down, and it's like in the middle you have a 0 point. So when it goes over the 0 point in the middle, it gets flipped or it gets left alone. So it can go like whoop, and then instead of going down, it goes up again, and then it goes down. And that's a decision which is made inside a microcontroller. So it's a little bit, it's like almost like a wave table or something. And it's just flipping the wave like a hard sync.
Yeah.
And the effect that you get is that it accentuates some harmonics and erases others. In some modes, it can erase the fundamental frequency. So it's kind of interesting. You get these really cool and really like metallic or very powerful kind of sounds out of it. But I was trying to make something which could sort of approximate this whole harmonic, like each note in a just intonation tuning. I didn't manage to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be really hard.
That's basically what it does, though. Like you can get some of those notes really powerfully out of it, and then others are really difficult to get. But maybe, like I might find out how to do that exactly and change the firmware or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. That's amazing. So you made those 3 modules, right? That's what you have.
Trouser Press.
Yeah, now I've got a new one called Trouser Press.
Oh, Trouser Press. That's nice.
Yeah.
I love the names, by the way. The fun designs.
That's a crossfader. So it's not a big module, but I just started making a crossfader because, to A/B stuff. And then I was like, okay, I want to make it logarithmic, and I want to make it like linear, like switchable. And then I also want it to be a fully functional VCA as well. So I made this, like slim module, which does all of those things and can also do envelopes. And actually, when I finished it, I was like, yeah, this is cool. You can do a lot of stuff with this. And it was like this really useful thing.
Yeah,
they're great, actually.
Crossfading. Crossfading is becoming a thing in modules now.
Good.
I just put the Raven last year. Did you see the Bird Kids Raven?
No, I didn't.
It's a dual oscillator. It's a giant module with the crossfader built in. So.
Yes. Yeah, so I use crossfaders quite a lot, it seems, in my designs. I mean, there's one in Loose Fruit. There's, obviously Trouser Press, and then I'm working on some new stuff, and I always seem to use crossfaders. So it's one of those designs that's really, useful to have.
Yeah, that's actually one of the nice things about like when you design stuff for yourself, like the designs become modular in themselves. So, you have like your favorite little things, like for example, on my one, I did the Mini Moog VCA, which has this really nice discrete circuit that does the VCA thing. But I also incorporated it into the dynamics modules, which aren't out yet, which is kind of like a compressor expander thing. But that's like the heart of that bit because it just sounds really nice.
So
it's nice to just take those designs and you can kind of just use that one. That's great.
Yeah, that's what AJH does, right? He uses the same designs, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Makes sense. I think everyone probably does that.
Yeah.
And it's like such a standard thing, but unless you're sort of involved in the design, you wouldn't really know that aspect. But
yeah, I mean, it's cool that they go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of electronics is very modular because you know, like all of this stuff's been done before, really, you know, like so you have little cells of things that do a particular job, and you bundle them together with other things, and then you go, hey, I've got a module. So yeah,
it's weird.
And op amps, you know, in general, like just the design of op amps are, you know, this op amp is a sort of fundamental building block of modern analog electronics, and they're built, you know, for exactly that purpose. So you have a chip and you have a few components around it, and then you can combine, you can put that in series with other blocks, and it does a load of jobs that you want to do.
I thought it was quite interesting, like you were saying one time that like one of the reasons that modular, like Eurorack modular, has really sort of taken off is the availability of components. So you're saying about the pots, as soon as they release those little alpha pots that you can
use that
all
way.
the time. Yeah, I think you're right. And then as soon as they released those, it meant that you could make boards where, you know, the PCB is like level with the panel behind it, rather than being, you know, at a right angle to the panel. And that's changed the game for engineers who are designing stuff, just because you can fit more stuff in. And I think you're quite right with that. And there's loads of stuff that's been reissued as well. As I was saying, that chap from Electric Druid who remade those chips, and then a lot of them are being re-released now from the manufacturers, like the original manufacturers. So that dictates a lot of the design as well. But there's certain things like Buckler was like quite well known for using like Vactrals in his designs. So that's like quite a Buckler-y type of sound, is this sound of like a Vactral, which is it's basically a resistor that reacts to light. And so you end up, and it takes a bit of time for that reactance to happen. And that's what he uses specifically in the low pass gate, is what gives the low pass gate that sort of whippy kind of sound, you know, when you're sort of triggering it. What else?
It's super cool to hear about the components and stuff, because I'm trying to get into design. No,
oh, great.
We're gonna start designing some modules pretty soon.
That's cool.
Yeah, because we did the go ahead.
No, please tell us about your
well,
stuff.
I wanted to build you guys' kits too, as kind of a learning process, because both of your modules are available as kits, right?
Yeah.
So I'll just pick one of each and, you know, build them for the whole experience, because the more you experience the little parts, and, you know, it's really hard, because you know, putting him in the wrong place because the instructions are just so weird, and I don't know. Yeah.
I've been at this for a long time, and I still manage to get like everything right. Like, when it comes to building stuff, there's always like something that I've done wrong.
Like,
it's very tricky.
I've never. I don't think I've ever. I shouldn't say this on like recorded maybe, but I don't think I've ever turned something on and it's worked first time.
I did that. It happened to me once. I was working at a hospital as an engineer, and there was like another engineer there who was into guitar stuff and that, and I was making a guitar pedal on like little, you know, like a little breadboard thing, whatever it is. And I switched it on and it worked first time. And I was like, oh, it works first time. And he looked at me like, as if to sort of say,
It's hard to know. I'm always surprised if it works the first time, but you know.
Yeah, but I think definitely coming at things from the top down perspective is a way to make much better stuff. I mean, in a sense, the electronics that goes into modules is kind of like whatever, you know, it's like
yeah,
you can get, if you have the idea, then you can get someone to make your idea. But if you just do electronics and you know, you're approaching it from the bottom up, then it doesn't mean that you're going to be making modules that anyone wants to use or anyone can relate to or anything like that.
Yeah, I think there's an important difference. Like when I worked in the repair shop for quite a bit, and you get to sort of see the difference between like a musician's point of view of what a piece of equipment should do, and like the engineer's point of view of what a piece of equipment should do. And a lot of times there's like a gap between what's required and what's good engineering, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's quite interesting, that difference.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that a lot of the Eurorack stuff is just so interesting because it's done like wrong, you know, which is the thing it makes it really interesting. It raises possibilities in a sort of more, you know, from a user perspective as well. It's exciting. It's like you want holes for the inspiration to leak through. You don't want to have everything like nicely, you know, strapped down, so it's like, well, sometimes you do, yeah.
I remember Sam brought me this pedal to fix as a distortion pedal for a guitar by Death by Audio, and it's called Sonic Waves Breakdown or something like that. And the way they did it was they built like a distortion pedal with like transistors and stuff, but then apparently one day someone came in and they plugged the power supply in the wrong way round, and the sound that came out of this thing is amazing. I was like, this thing sounds incredible. And Sam was like, oh, could you build me another one, because these guys are in New York and it's like difficult to sort of find. So I traced everything out, got everything, like all the schematic, like checked it perfectly, rebuilt it, and couldn't get it to work at all. Like something weird about the matching of those transistors. And I kept, like, it took me months, and I was just like, in the end I was like, just give up with this. But that's a good example of like electronics done wrong, but it sounds amazing, you know?
Yeah, it's so weird how it does that, right? Like it's like some kind of magic inside that we can't really put our fingers on. But yeah.
That's what I like to try and chase.
Yeah, and it's, I think, sort of from our perspective as well, it's really nice because, you know, we're more like, it feels like you're more of a spectator to it as well, you know. So you're kind of, when you switch it on and it works, and you're like, that sounds amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And there's no kind of like being like, it's not like you're bragging that you've done some amazing design. You're really just in awe of, like, you know, how the thing sounds or how the electronics work.
Yeah. It was so cool of you to send me your album yesterday. I don't know, I guess it's not publicly available, but if you could play a little bit of your system there that you have, so we can hear a little bit.
Well, this is this synth here, this polyphonic.
Let's hear a little bit, and I'll just
play a jingle.
Yeah, jingle, Christmas jingle.
I can't actually play.
Make a podcast jingle.
I can't actually play keyboards very well at all, I'm afraid. But,
the album is dope.
But it's... Yeah,
so are those modules all sideways in the case, or how is it?
Which one? Here?
Yeah.
No, this is like, this is a whole thing. I built this when I was working at the hospital.
Okay. Oh, those aren't Eurorack then. That's just a
no. It's
giant
like,
synth you make.
It's a giant panel. Yeah. When I worked at a hospital as an engineer fixing the treatment machines for radiotherapy. And in our office, like, was all the electronics engineers, but in the office next door, they had mechanical engineers and access to like this huge, great big milling machine and their experience and everything. So I decided to build myself a synthesizer. So the whole thing is all drilled out by hand and stuff.
But that's what you used to do before you did the Eurorack stuff, right?
Yeah,
it was all stuff that existed with a fixed faceplate, sort of modular, but well, it's kind of semi-modular, like systems, but it sort of all bundled up into a unit.
Yeah, so there's one behind Phil there, which is like a mono synth. I don't know if you can see
we get it out?
Yeah.
So we can see. I can unplug it, so I don't want to
unplug the power supply. Yeah.
Just come around to Danny's house and but Tony. Okay. That's it. Can you see this?
Wow, it's beautiful. It looks like a bugle, right?
Yeah, it was like, well, that's Phil's fault, that is. I was like quite into building synthesizers and stuff, and then one day Phil was like, do you like Buckler synths? And I was like, I've not heard of Buckler. And he was like, call yourself a synth designer, you haven't even heard of Buckler.
I know, I say it wrong. I'm like...
I like the way you say it. Yeah, it's nice.
I mean,
Buckler.
It's more fun.
Yeah.
But Moog, it's definitely Moog, right?
I think I read somewhere that he liked to call himself Moog, but apparently it's supposed to be pronounced Moog, so who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody can be.
I think it's like, it's sort of, I think it's like European origin, his name.
Yeah, probably German, I think. Yeah.
It might be, yeah.
Anyways, yeah, who cares? But that looks dope. I mean, yeah, thanks. And your whole system, like, it's so you don't offer the modules pre-made. There, you have to build them all yourself, right?
Getting to the point, yeah. I mean, if people email me and they want them built, I can do that. But yeah, basically, that's definitely something for the future. Like, I'm trying to set up properly, get a website and start actually selling stuff properly, but there's so much paperwork to do.
Yeah,
and it's all in German.
Oh,
German's not that good. So.
Yeah, no, it's hard with everything there, with their licensing and stuff too, businessing there. ALM system cope. Any thoughts?
ALM system, sorry?
System cope.
Oh, yeah. I really like ALM stuff. I love the design, but I haven't had a chance to play on that stuff. But the way that it's all set out is like, it's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Like, it's really cohesive and really nice, and the guy really understands what he's trying to do with that design.
I think he's got a couple decades on us. But I mean, the whole system being there, the whole, everything there in the skiff is really cool. Not like
so what's in that system exactly? Was it the squid is in there?
Yeah, squid's in there, and then a bunch of other bits, He's just got the whole thing there. So it's kind of like what you're trying to do, Jenny, with the whole system. Which is cool. I mean, having a few modules to put in is really cool too, but to make the whole system so that it's, I don't know, it's just something different to do, isn't it? Just to have.
Yeah, I think it's something that I recently got into just from watching a lot of videos and stuff. But Mark the Boss, like his system, and I checked out a few of his modules before, and like obviously I know about him. I've been reading his stuff for sort of years and things. But I really like the philosophy of it. Like he was sort of talking about his system and how he likes to work, and how he always likes to start with like a blank, kind of nothing plugged in, and then he'll just start patching stuff in and sort of see where it takes him and see where he wants to go. And like the whole system makes sense when you look at it from that point of view. I really like that idea, like all the different philosophies. Talking to you about Stevio as well, and his setup for that's amazing, the stuff that he does. Yeah,
they're like the original free jazz of Welsh.
yeah,
Wales.
that's crazy. Is that where he's from? Is he Welsh?
Yeah, I think they live in Wales. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I don't think his accent's not Welsh though. I think he's like got a northern accent, like sort of like Yorkshire area or something like that. Maybe a bit like Newcastle or something. Yeah.
I mean, I loved
But
their show. They had bass clef there. Do you know bass clef?
Yeah, I know bass clef. Yeah.
Yeah, he was really good. I
Yeah,
remember.
it's great.
But
he
yeah.
used to come and play quite often in the bar that I worked at in Brighton, and our friends had like a record label, and they used to get him. Yeah, so Ashley's record label and stuff. They used to, get bass clef. I think they had him like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it was very cool how everybody's kind of focused on modular synths there, especially so early in the, in the scene, because now it's explosive and you'll see it probably more often than before. But yeah,
it's a good time for modular synths with the whole lockdown business going on. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's strange, like a few years ago, when it started, it was like, oh, it's so popular. How long is this going to last? How long is it going to go on being popular for? And
yeah, I had a few people like that.
Yeah, it seems to have really. It seems to be just getting bigger. And now we have the lockdown stuff. Everyone seems like they're buying quite a lot of stuff as well. So.
I was thinking more in terms of like performance and stuff like that, because it's easier to sort of. It's the perfect thing, really, for most people are going to be performing on the internet and stuff. So
yeah,
kind of lends itself quite well.
It's not as fun performing from home, though. It's
You've
not as
performed
loud.
that live fair few times, eh?
At Superbooth? Yeah.
No, just in general. Like I've seen a few videos online and stuff. Like that.
Yeah, I love to play in spaces because it's louder. Here
I've
got my monitors at home. You always have some good monitors to listen at home. You can turn them up really loud without disturbing your neighbors, but often the neighbors are disturbed. But at the venue, I love to hear it loud. It just sounds takes you somewhere else when you hear it at that volume. Cool. Yeah, and that's a big part of playing it, just to hear where it takes you. Superbooth 18 was, I think, my best performance, probably. Yeah.
I'm nervous about doing that sort of stuff. I'm only happy performing if I've got a band behind me and a lead singer I can hide behind or something.
No. Sorry, I don't know. That's the whole thing about the electronic music, is that you have to do everything, that's why it's so
that's why I don't want to do it.
Just put a mask on.
Yeah.
No, I really liked your guitar tracks. Reminded me of Mark Ribot.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
I used to play with like Tom Waits and stuff.
Oh yeah,
kind of like rockabilly,
Is he the one who went to play for PJ Harvey? I think she had one of Tom Waits' guitarists for a bit. Yeah,
I heard the music.
That's a great compliment. Thank you.
It started me going, and I was like, oh, this is like that. Mark Ribot.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So that would definitely be an influence. Unfortunately, I didn't know his name, but love Tom Waits.
Music is special, it's all over the place, and it's so multifaceted. It's like,
especially nowadays.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like I'm sort of from the 90s was really my kind of musical period and stuff like that. And yes, I mean, obviously with the internet, like everyone's kind of spread out now in their tastes and what they can pick and choose and stuff. I kind of miss sort of when there were scenes a bit.
Yeah,
I missed that a little bit.
Yeah,
like when people went outside.
Well, I feel bad for the kids now.
That kind of scene,
yeah. I mean, I put on the Flintstones for my son the other day, and he loved it. So, I think as long as we keep telling the kids about what we were up to, and then they'll look at it like some really magical vintage thing, and then that's how it's going to continue through. I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
But,
well, we're going to have to, when we can go back outside again, we have to rebuild the outside world, rebuild the synth scene in the you know, take it from the bedrooms and put it on the street corners,
in the sunlight.
I know, it's weird. Yeah, it is. It's really special.
And you've got a system behind you there. What? What is that?
I've got my Raven here.
Wait, that's amazing.
Okay.
This is the crossfader.
Oh, that's the Raven. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he's put the crossfader right in the middle.
Yeah.
And, you know, to go between the two oscillators.
Yeah.
And each
sensible
oscillator's
place for those.
I guess these are both the ones that control it, but it's really cool how if you plug one in, like I plugged one in here to change, it just changes it one note, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you plug it in, take it out, it's a perfect tuning. So I did that.
And when you're making music, how are you using your modular? Is it doing generative stuff, or are you...
No, I'll just, well, for this one, what I did the other day, I'm working on a track from a live set that I did back in June for Modular World. Did you guys hear that Modular World thing?
No.
I might have done. Like, I've seen just a few videos and stuff.
That was cool about the pandemic. Like, it put me in touch with people in the US, which I've never heard from any of them. So, you know, Modular World is something new from California, hosted by John Wells, and he's like, oh, I have to find out what you're up to and we'll talk about it and you could be on the show. I was like, okay, cool, you know. But he's very hippie. Like, he's like, oh, I gotta go to Superbooth, but my wife might not let me. I was like, okay, buddy. But anyway, Superbooth is a must for everybody who's like super into modular, like he is, because he's finding people from everywhere to play on his show. So I did a really cool set for him because we were just driving around Miami Beach before my set, and I was like, oh, I feel very beachy, you know, it was the summer. And I did a really cool thing with my drum machine, the Electron Rhythm, and I synced it up with the PAMs. And I don't know, it was like a really special thing because I never play my drum machine out live, like at Superbooth or anything. I'll just play the modular, but, you know, so I won't get like real, you know, drum machine sounds at a live set like from home. Yeah. And so I was working on that track the other day and I just plugged in the Raven and I just record one chord with it and I'll do a nice sweep on the track that I did in June. And I, you know, it's really, yeah, just keep adding stuff to it, you know? Yeah, but change it a lot and make something new of it. So I don't know, this is very inspiring.
How long have you been using modular stuff?
Since 2013 already. Yeah.
Wow,
right,
that's a long time.
Okay.
Do you change your setup much, or do you kind of stick with something for quite a while?
I stick with it for a long while before, and it's very rare that I'll sell things. So, you know, that way it just keeps growing. And but yeah, it has grown quite a lot, and so I have sold a few, but not many. But you know, I like to hold on to things as long as possible before I say, okay, that's but like I built the Stoichia, the Rebel Technologies Stoichia.
Okay, yeah.
And then I was hard up for cash, so I sold it. I was like, oh, so sad. But I really like the module of it.
I remember in the 90s, I was making like electronic music with a friend of mine, and he had a friend of his who was also doing electronic music. And like, he'd pop by every now and again and he'd tell you about all the bits of gear that he'd bought or that he was using. And you'd be like so jealous, because in those days, like, you know, you wanted to buy like anything and it was easily over £1,000 to buy it and no one had any money. And then he just like, he'd make an album and then like, he'd just sell all of his stuff for like whatever reason. And then like, you'd see him like a year later and he just got all new stuff. And it was really weird how that kind of dictated the sort of music that he'd make, because he'd just sell all of his gear, buy a whole load of new stuff in. And we'd just be like, oh man, you got rid of that. Oh, that's amazing. Hey, that MPC was so cool. And,
no, yeah, you got to hold on to stuff. Yeah, it's part of it. It really does change your sound too if you add something and if you take
I don't know.
Do you think in terms of, you know, when you're designing a system, are you thinking in terms of sound or are you thinking in terms of workflow?
I don't really, well, I have the one basic one that I started with as my kind of foundation, and then everything else I'm just kind of experimenting now because my foundation synth started from, you know, a few modules with a big hole in the middle to start to grow, and the hole is filled, and you know, but I have my, you know, it started with 4MS. 4MS gave me my whole launch into learning how to do stuff. So my PEG is my foundation, RCD, 100%. And so, you know, I was using those as my main clock and sequencer for a long time. And now, I don't know. Yeah, I've kind of just, I'm amazed by the sounds that these things can do and how different they are. Like, I can't wait to put some of your guys' stuff in.
So when you came, like when you started doing Modular, did you know like how they worked at all? Or did you just kind of think, I want to get into them? Really? That's incredible. Because when I started doing music with that friend of mine in the 90s, and I didn't know anything about synthesizers, like we did a whole album, like recorded loads of stuff, and I worked with him for about 2 or 3 years. And by the time I finished with it, I was still like, I don't really know how these synthesizers work.
But it was so mysterious at one point. Like, I mean, it and I imagine it's mysterious to everyone who doesn't, you know, when they start out. But there was one, you know, the internet now, you can find so many resources to find out about these things. But when I remember trying to find out about them from knowing nothing and going to the old music tech teacher in my college and being like, do you know anything about modular synthesizers? And he gave me these like manuals, and I was reading them being like, oh, I don't know, man, it doesn't really make that much sense to me.
The manuals.
Yeah, that's why I brought mine everywhere. I brought my first skiff with the big hole in the middle everywhere, and I was like, oh my god, did you see how this thing works? Look what it does. I was like,
I remember I got, like, the first sort of serious bit of gear I got was this Yamaha sampler. It could do like everything, but it came with a manual that was like that thick. And I was so pleased that I got it, but I just kind of left it sat there in its box for a week because I was like, I don't want to read the manual. It's going to take me forever. But that thing, man, I absolutely went crazy with that. That's what I was going to say. It's like one of those things where, you know, for me, like coming from that era in the 90s when you can only afford like 1 or 2 bits of gear, and you go nuts, like trying to figure out everything that you could do with this piece of gear and like just getting to know it and what it does well, what it doesn't do well.
And that was the keyboard, right? Keyboard?
No, that was like I think it's like it's called A1000 or something, or A5000 or something like that. And like, I use it so much that I broke all the buttons off on it from pressing them. So crazy. But yeah, and like I think that's one of the things that I really like is, and it's one of the things I like about sort of, you know, building synthesizers that are complete systems, it's all finished, is that like it's the finished product, you know, and like you can do everything like within that one system and really get to know it really well. Whereas with modular, I think I find myself, you know, there's so many choices that you can make that it's really like, to explore everything would take so much time. So, you know, like it's a kind of different way of approaching making music for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we just built the Shack Map module on the last workshop of the Shack Map.
Oh yeah.
Built this one.
Yeah, I love those modules. They're
Shack
great.
Map, yeah, he's great. The modules are really interesting. Since the workshop, December 5th, I'm ashamed to say I haven't plugged it in yet because I've been super busy. I mean, I plugged it in to make sure it worked, but I haven't plugged it in to make it do anything audio yet. As you know, gets swamped by a 3-year-old, but but I am going to do that now that I have 2 weeks off work for vacation. So, but I want to build you your guys' modules. They're both available as kits on Thonk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll probably do one of your guys's or both as a module workshop another time in a couple months or something.
Yes, I have some new ones. I've talked about the trouser press, but I also have some very small, thin filters, like
4 HP or something.
4 HP filters, like
the high pass and
low pass 4-pole ones.
They're really nice.
Can never have enough filters.
They are really nice. Yeah, and like it's sort of like a very classic, you know, 4-pole sound, and you can get them. They're made with factory made PCBs, but then you put the pots in and you have a little wire that you connect to a jack plate, and then that's it. That's your filter.
So it's kind of easy to build.
Very easy to build, yeah.
How many connections to solder? Like a few?
Ooh.
Was it just soldering the pots and the connections?
20, 30, 38. No, 44.
Oh, that's not bad.
40, yeah.
It's probably an hour
Just
build.
off the top of your head.
Yeah.
Okay. I love running a filter through a filter through a filter and then seeing how they do weird things together.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you need lots of my filters.
Yeah.
Selling.
As do all your listeners. That's my sales pitch.
I do like Verbose's stuff too. I don't have any of his stuff. Is he your buddy?
Yeah.
He lives there too.
I've met him, but I haven't seen him. Yeah, there used to be a place in Berlin called, what was it called? The name has briefly gone, but it was this place which, Spectrum it was called. It was on a corner, and they used to do lots of different nights there. People could go and, you could do a workshop, or you could do a regular once a month evening. And there was a Berlin Modular group who used to do stuff there, and they used to have like talks. I think originally it was Darren from Patchpoint, and he set it up, and then some other people got involved in it. I think I'm right in saying that, but maybe not. So there was that kind of stuff, and people like Mark Verbose came and did some talks there.
So cool. I love Berlin so much. Oh, the best.
Yeah. Well, that was, I guess moving here, when you do this kind of stuff, or you make these, modules, is kind of a no-brainer, really, because it seems like it's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like it's one of the only places which actually has like a face-to-face scene of people who do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a home for it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I was trying to give London that home by having my events there, and so sad that they have the visa thing. You have to leave.
Yeah.
Nationalities and things like that. Yeah. But
and how far did you get with it when you were living there?
I did 12 there, so yeah, it was pretty good. So I was doing them, I guess, quarterly the first 2 years, and then I did them every 2 years for the other 2 years. So yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, the numbers? So like 4 and 4 and 2 and 2. Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, it's a whole research process, just bringing the people and looking at how they're doing things, and whatever manufacturers I could get to come. Like I had the guy from NerdSeek come, which I'm really interested. Yeah, I'm really interested in his, but I've never used it. I really like it. People say great about it. Thomas Margolf, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, it's very completely different from, I guess, our my thing and your thing.
No,
all the modules are so different. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's super cool. I really like that sort of gamery thing. There was loads of stuff to do with chiptune at one point, which is really cool. And that sort of seemed like it, it's like that kind of thing.
I like the buttons and how you can go through the sequences. I don't know, it just looks really interesting. It seems like every module I really want to play with every single one that there is.
Yeah. See, that's really part of the problem. Well, I mean, it's good for us, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of more one for sort of having a smaller setup and then just concentrating on that.
That's why I love Superbooth so much. You go there and see them all and play them all a little bit, or watch somebody play them. And something I've been obsessing about lately is the Waldorf Quantum, because I hit one note on the Quantum at Superbooth and it was like, oh! I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But it's true. It's an amazing, I mean, but the price of it is just like, it's totally out of reach.
How much is it?
It's like 4,300 something ridiculous amounts of money. Yeah.
Wow.
But it's
I think they are booklet. It's crazy.
Wow.
I mean, it's analog mixed with digital, so, but you know.
I mean, like if it's synths can be worth that. It can.
Yeah.
If you well-designed stuff, like good instruments are worth a lot of money.
Everything that's inside of there that they've worked on is so much. It's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And then you hit one note and it just blows you out the window. And that's why it costs so much. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I guess we've been chatting a long time. Danny, would you like to close out with a few more beautiful notes of music?
Oh, jingle bells. I don't even know how to play them.
Really reminds me of Raymond Scott a lot.
It's very Raymond Scott. Yeah, I was big fan of Raymond Scott. So.
Me too.
Thanks very much for having us, Eden.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Danny. It's such a thrill to finally meet you both. And
you
nice
too.
To meet you too. Yeah.
We'll look forward to seeing you again, hopefully next year.
Yeah, great. A Superbooth when it happens again.
Yeah,
I hope it's next year, but maybe not till the year after. But everything maybe one day. But I'll definitely meet you guys someday. But keep up your good work on the beautiful synthesizer development and
thanks very much. Yeah,
having a play on it and stuff.
Good luck building the modules.
Hope you guys have a good holiday. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cheers. Okay, thanks everybody for tuning in. And check out God's Box and DANNYSOUND on Thonk. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Let's